In the city of Lusaka, where ambition echoed off the glass towers and Range Rovers roared louder than wedding bells, two names floated at the top of every socialite's dream guest list: Adana and Johari. They were the representation of power. Both were in their 30s, sharp-witted and ruthlessly successful. Adana was the regional director of strategy at a global tech firm, known for turning failing branches into multi-million shilling success stories. Johari, on the other hand, was a senior executive at a top investment firm, the kind who closed million-dollar deals over state dinners and didn't blink twice. Together they looked like a billboard for black excellence, Adana in her crisp suits and silent confidence, Johari with his Rolex, sharp fade and disarming grin. They owned a penthouse in mass media heights, had matching Teslas, his black, hers wine red, and vacationed twice a year in locations too exclusive for Instagram. But behind the glass walls and curated smiles, Adana had a gnawing question. Was this love or performance? They had been together for 3 years. It had started passionately, the kind of love that ignites during networking cocktails and burns through hotel sheets. But somewhere between shared calendars and mergers, something changed. The proposals never came. The us became less about partnership and more about appearances. They were a brand, not a couple. Adana had watched too many powerful women wait for men to catch up emotionally while pretending to be fulfilled. She didn't want to be another cautionary tale whispered about in beauty salons or on Twitter threads. But the real crack came when Adana's friend, Linda, a smart lawyer who didn't play games, mentioned a line from her prenup when they were out having dinner. If either party cheats, lies, or hides a pregnancy, the guilty one loses everything. At first, Adana laughed it off, but days later, she realized that a seed had been planted by Linda's offhand comment about betrayal clauses and emotional fine print. It stayed with her like a tune stuck in the back of her mind, quietly playing beneath every dinner conversation, every postponed wedding date, every long silence in the car. And Adana would constantly ask herself, if Johari cheated on me, what would I do? Would I just forgive him again? Parallel. What if I'm the only one taking this relationship seriously? That one line made Adana stop hoping and start planning. She realized she needed to know if Johari was truly with her for love or just for the lifestyle. Then one night, it all came crashing together. Johari came home late, again, tipsy again. He fumbled with the keys, laughing to himself about something no one else was around to hear. His shirt was wrinkled in a way that suggested more than just boardroom fatigue, and he reeked of citrus perfume, bright, floral, and feminine. A scent Adana didn't own, and never wore. She stood at the kitchen island, watching him shrug off his blazer like a man without a care. He gave her a quick peck on the cheek, mumbled something about a last-minute pitch, then disappeared into the bathroom to shower off the night. She didn't say anything, not that night, not the next day either, because this time something in her shifted. Adana, who could command boardrooms, negotiate contracts, and outmaneuver industry giants, realized she had been playing small in her own relationship. For a man who loved the idea of her, but maybe not the responsibility that came with her ambition. She was tired of feeling like a placeholder in her own love story. So no, there would be no confrontation, no tears on silk pillowcases, no half-hearted arguments or awkward silences over breakfast. She decided it was time, not for another talk, not for ultimatums, for a test, one that would show her, once and for all, if Johari was truly the man he claimed to be when no one was watching. And if he wasn't, she was already making peace with the idea of walking away, with her power, her dignity, and her future still intact. On a quiet Thursday evening, after dinner and wine, Adana set the stage. She let out a soft breath, the kind that hinted at hesitation. Her eyes darted down to the floor, then back to Johari, who was busy scrolling on his phone. "I need to tell you something," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She added a small tremble to her hand and shifted slightly in her seat, like someone unsure of how the news would land. Johari looked up, frowning slightly. "Everything okay?" Adana nodded slowly, biting her lip for effect. "I didn't plan to say it like this," she continued, letting her voice quiver just a little. But I can't keep it to myself anymore. She paused, waiting for him to look at her fully, for the tension to rise. I'm pregnant. He looked up, half distracted by emails on his phone. I'm pregnant, she repeated. Silence. Then, the smile. Not a joyful one, a restrained one, like a man caught in the middle of a chess game he hadn't prepared for. Wow, are you sure? Yes, I took 3 tests. Another pause. Then Johari leaned back slowly, his eyes narrowing just slightly, as if trying to process a complex spreadsheet instead of the words Adana had just said. He didn't reach for her hand. He didn't ask how she felt. He didn't even blink with joy or fear, just calculation. And then, after what felt like an eternity, he asked the one question that made her stomach tighten. Do you want to keep it? The words landed like a slap, cold, detached, as if the idea of a child, their child, was more of a logistical inconvenience than a life-changing moment. His tone wasn't angry or supportive. It was cautious, measured, like a man who had just realized he might have made a costly mistake. Adana stared at him, heart pounding. That was it. No, we'll figure this out. No, I've got you. No, we'll be okay. Just a pause. And then a question, one that made it painfully clear. This wasn't the response of a man excited to build a future. It was the response of someone calculating how this might mess up his perfect life. And in that moment, Adana knew. She had her answer. In the days that followed, Johari changed. Not loudly, but noticeably. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He was just absent. He would still come home, still eat dinner, still respond when Adana spoke. But the warmth was gone. His eyes no longer lit up when he looked at her. His hands, once always reaching for hers, stayed in his pockets or gripped his phone. The man who used to kiss her on the forehead in the mornings and text her during lunch meetings now scrolled through his phone in silence, his face lit by the glow of notifications she couldn't see. He started cancelling plans. Dinner dates turned into, let's reschedule. Weekend getaways turned into, work's come up. Their shared laughter became rare, replaced by awkward silences and half-hearted small talk. Adana noticed every detail. The way he'd leave the room to take calls, the way he avoided long conversations, and how, every time she mentioned the pregnancy, a shadow crossed his face. Not joy, not nervous excitement, just something unreadable. One evening, over takeout, she brought it up gently. I was thinking, maybe we could move the wedding up a bit, she said, her voice hopeful but careful. You know, so we're more settled before the baby comes. Johari didn't look up from his plate. Instead, he gave a short laugh, not cruel, but dismissive. We don't need to panic, he said, casually. Let's just enjoy what we have right now. Adana blinked. It was the kind of response that sounded reasonable until you realized it wasn't. Because in that moment, she understood what he really meant. He wasn't ready, he wasn't planning, and maybe he wasn't staying. 1 week later, she booked dinner at a quiet rooftop restaurant, their favorite place. The waiter knew their order before they spoke. Adana shifted in her seat, her fingers brushing the rim of her wine glass as if steadying herself. The rooftop air felt heavier than usual, thick with the scent of grilled steak and distant rain. She took a slow breath, then looked Johari directly in the eyes, calm but calculated. I need to tell you something, she said again, her voice low, careful, almost hesitant, the way someone speaks before dropping a match on dry leaves. Her tone was deliberate, quiet but heavy, like it had been rehearsed in front of a mirror. There was no tremble in her voice, but there was just enough pause to make Johari sit up straighter, instinctively alert. He didn't speak. Not yet. He just stared at her, the corner of his mouth twitching like he wasn't sure if she was about to confess something or confront him. Adana leaned forward slightly, eyes never leaving his. And this time, she added, with the weight of something final, I need you to really listen. Johari braced. I'm not pregnant, He blinked. What? I lied, she said, her voice steady but soft, like the last flicker of a candle before it dies out. She let the words hang there for a moment, watching them settle into the air between them like dust. There's no baby, Johari. His face twitched, the kind of involuntary reaction that comes when truth slaps you harder than expected. But she didn't give him time to speak. I needed to know if you were in this for real, she continued, her fingers tracing the edge of her napkin. Not just when things are easy, not when we're winning awards, sipping champagne on yachts, or being tagged in those hashtag power couple posts. I needed to know if you'd stay if life got messy. She looked up, her eyes suddenly sharp, shining with something between pain and clarity. If I ever got sick, really sick, if my name stopped opening doors, if I broke my leg and couldn't walk red carpets or close deals, if I lost everything that made me shiny to the outside world, I needed to know you'd still choose me. Not the brand, not the title, me. Johari opened his mouth, but she raised a hand, not angrily, just firmly. And now I know. Her voice softened again, but the weight in it doubled. Because the second you thought things would get complicated, you pulled back. You hesitated. You started weighing options instead of holding my hand. You didn't ask how I felt, Johari. You asked if I planned to keep it, like I was an inconvenience. She exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding that breath for weeks. You say you love me, maybe you even believe it. But love isn't proven in candlelit dinners or curated vacations. It's proven in discomfort, in inconvenience, in the moments you don't script. Then she leaned back, the exhaustion finally showing. And now, I have all the clarity I need. He sat back, stunned. You tested me? No, she said. I gave you a stage. You failed your own script. You say you love me, Johari, but your loyalty is only loud when things are good. Johari tried to fight back. He said it was cruel, manipulative. You lied to me, Adana. No, she said calmly. I told the truth before I gave you a ring. Then she stood, placed the napkin on the table, and walked out. It wasn't just a relationship ending. It was the fall of a brand. Adana and Johari had been the couple that turned heads at every gala, the pair invited to every corporate retreat, and the faces behind joint magazine covers titled Power in Partnership. They had built more than a life. They had built a narrative. And now it was crumbling in public. At first, no one knew for sure, but then the signs started trickling in. Then came the Bombshell. A gossip blog called Z-Leaks, known for never missing a scandal, posted a grainy photo of Adana stepping out of their shared penthouse in Mass Media Heights, with 2 travel cases and a document folder under her arm. The caption read, "End of the Empire. Sources say Adana and Johari are done after a 3-year romance built on boardrooms, brunches, and maybe betrayal." The internet went wild. Hashtag Adana and Johari began trending within hours. Everyone had a theory. Some said she had caught him cheating. Others claimed she was too controlling. But a quiet post from Adana's private Instagram, a black square with the words "clarity is better than comfort," sent a message louder than any press release. By the weekend, the story had reached every rooftop brunch and executive WhatsApp group in Lusaka. Colleagues, influencers, board members, everyone had something to say. She just moved out, launched her own firm, removed his name from her bio, and reminded every woman watching that you don't have to beg for clarity, you can demand it, or create it yourself. And Johari? He stayed quiet. No interviews, no public denial, just occasional sightings. Alone, looking like a man who understood, too late, that while you can replace a car or a condo, you can't replace a woman who once believed in you. And then stopped. He tried dating again, but the shine was gone. No woman matched up to Adana. He was no longer the untouchable executive, just a man who failed the one woman who wanted to build with him. He'd scroll past her online sometimes, radiant, booked, unbothered, and the truth would hit him like a punch to the chest. She had loved him, he had hesitated, and she had walked away, with everything except regret. Thank you so much for watching. Please support this channel by hitting the like, share, and subscribe button.